How about those era battles, huh, folks? So yesterday, era battles finally came to the game, something that CG has been talking about for the greater part of a month or 2 months, something along those lines, and we didn't really necessarily know what those things were until yesterday when we got Nightfall. Now, we did have some idea. There were data mines, there were update posts kind of explaining things to the players. And when we got the event yesterday, I think there were a lot of people that were confused, and there were a lot of people that were really, really frustrated. Now, what I want to say here is I see era battles a lot like what we saw with the community update. I think that era battles are actually a relatively positive change to the game, and it is helping players to be able to more quickly build marquees to usable levels. However, it doesn't necessarily feel that way, right? It feels bad to a lot of the player base who are now struggling to beat them, and that's kind of what I want to focus on and talk about today. So let's get to it. There we go. So era battles, again, they came to the game yesterday, and PSA, if you did not do them again today, they did seem to reset. I don't know if that was intentional. I know that the people on Reddit, people on Discord, content creators pretty much kept this quiet going into everything. And I mean, at this point, we're already in day 2, and CG will know what CG knows. But if you haven't done them today, make sure to get it done again. You will be able to get those shards again. Whether that is intentional, and I don't think it's intentional, will remain to be seen on Thursday when we get the next one, or maybe even in 2 weeks when we get the actual set that comes again. But I did start seeing posts this morning talking about it. So the cat is out of the bag. I didn't want to be the one to do that. Anyway, Nightfall came to the game yesterday, and players obviously tried it. Now, in-game, where is it here? Details. The game does talk about, recommending having all 4 units to be able to beat the event. But the problem is we only have one of those units now, right? Which essentially means either you can beat it with the 1 unit, and you can. I've obviously done it, and the other people have obviously done it. Or you're in a position where you watch this event come back time after time after time after time until the very last time when you would be able to beat it. And that seems kind of silly, right? I'm not going to say that you need max investment to do tier 1 and 2 of Nightfall, so just 3-star marquee here and 5-star marquee here. But I am going to say that players have been finding that you do need to gear the character relatively high comparative to the expectation, and you do need to apply the Zeta. Now, I am a 12.95 million account. I've been playing since January 1st, 2017. I have pretty much every tool in the game. When a new character comes out, I bring them to G11 right away. I put their Zetas on right away. I actually did remod for this event. These are my normal mods as of right now, but I have the backing to throw 5A mods with 20 plus speed on them to brute force an event, making it a lot easier for me. I'm not talking about myself. I found it no problem at all to throw this event on auto a few times and just brute force it until Jocasta Nu didn't manage to kill both of my characters with her lightsaber throw. But there are a lot of players in that 2 million, 3 million, 6 million, 8 million GP area who are really excited for a new event, something new, to be able to get shards. And they're eventually essentially finding out that they have to put a lot more investment into a character than they originally expected to do so. Apple being a character that they were excited for, but something that in the past they probably would not have put a lot of resources into because they have their own projects. These are players, that are they're farming Jabba right now, or Leia, or their GL capital ships to build into the game, and they don't want to put excessive resources into something that they're not going to use for a very long time. So going back to my original sentiment, this is a positive change. This is essentially free shards for these players, right? I think I got 7 here, obviously, this morning, and 13 here this morning as well. But when you're presented with something that you cannot do, or something that feels overtuned, even if it's possible, it is going to put a lot of frustration on an already frustrated player base. I don't remember what Tier 1 looks like, but I know that in Tier 2, as an example, you are given a Gear 9 Lord Vader, which is just ridiculous. And you have a potentially G11 Gear 9, Gear 11 Oppo. And Jocasta Nu is not only, I think it says here, your opponents have increased stats for this battle that are not represented in the player-obtained version. So not only does she have higher stats than normal, but she's also Relic 3, right? And you're taking a Gear 9 character and a Gear 11 character in against a Relic 3 character, and you're expecting to brute force it. And it is clearly possible, but it takes a lot of time and frustration. That's a problem. Okay, again, it's not a problem for me. I can do it. I've done it. But that's a problem when you're trying to signal to the community, hey, we want you to be involved in new stuff, even if you're far behind. We want to prioritize and make the new characters something important to you. But we're going to make it really, really difficult and really, really hard for you to want to invest in it. Actually, if you think back to the Inquisitor marquees, right? And when those came out and we would do the marquee events, and as we got further, we were watching those events and the characters are hitting like wet noodles, and the marquee event itself took like 10 minutes, and we sat there watching this team and going, is that it? Is that how they work? And it took any excitement there was for the Inquisitors, and it kind of turned it around and made it the opposite of what it should have been. And that's kind of essentially what's happening here with Nightfall. As players who maybe don't have Lord Vader, I've already seen it on Reddit, I've seen it all over the place. People who don't have Lord Vader are going, oh, well, Lord Vader hits like a wet noodle. I don't know if I want him. And of course, we know if you have a Lord Vader at Relic 7 or Relic 8, and he has his ultimate, and we get 3.5 minutes into a battle that he completely obliterates things. But not every player knows that thing. So it takes players who are maybe excited to do that now that all of these clones are out and going, do I really want to do that? Now, the other part of this is actually the player that is in a position like myself, right? The 12.95 million player who is a whale, somebody who spent $125 to $150 to make sure that they had this marquee at, I mean, I know people who have Oppo at Relic 9 already, okay? And they came into this event saying, okay, era battles, there are rewards at all of these tiers. I'm going to put this investment in because I think that it's a good investment for me to get things like Droid Brains or Geared Up Keypads or Omicrons. And those players are actually finding out that tier 3 is tough for them. right? I know my guild leader has a Relic 9 Oppo right now, and I know that tier 3 is possible. But he's telling me, hey, Jacosta's blowing me up every single time. And this is just the 7-star tier. Okay, you could have a G12, Relic 1, anything below Relic 5, and she's completely obliterating the team. So these players who assumed that they would be getting rewards for all of these tiers are finding out that that's not actually the case. I will say that the data mines did suggest this, and the hacked client that the data mine uses to kind of test things did let the player base know this, but there was no explicitly stated thing from CG, and we can't expect unofficial news sources to be the news source that lets people know what's going on. We saw it on Reddit this morning. I saw it on the Reddit yesterday when people were going, hey, I got my Relic 9 Oppo, I was really excited, now I'm really pissed off, I don't know if I want to spend further on this event, because now I'm just annoyed. Even though there is that sunk cost fallacy, now I'm just annoyed about this. That is problematic, right? The big problem here isn't that it's not beatable yet. The biggest problem is that these things are not communicated to players in-game, right? The one thing that we do have to remember as a player base, and that CG needs to remember as a corporation, is that the largest majority of players do not interact with forums, do not interact with the subreddit, do not interact with Discord. The largest majority of players just hop in, they play the game, they do their best. Maybe they're on their guild's Discord, especially if they're a late game player, but they're not in the event server, right? They're just doing what they need to do. And if CG is not communicating these things effectively in game, the spenders in that camp are going to feel extremely jilted when something happens. Now, I don't play other mobile games religiously, but I do go into these phases where, like, for 6 to 8 weeks, I might say, let me try something else out. And I've tried things like Marvel Strike Force, and I'm playing that new, DC Dark Legion game right now, and I've played Star Trek Fleet Commander. And one thing that all of these games have in common is that they predominantly and effectively communicate things in game. And if there is something they cannot communicate effectively in game, there is always, hey, here is a mail we're blasting out to everybody at every update. Not a splash screen that everybody ignores because it pops up every day. But here's this here's this mail. Update just happened. Here are the change logs. You can read more about it at this link. You can click on that link. The link will bring you directly to the website where you can see exactly what is going on. CG doesn't really have that for the most part, right? We get a quick little blurb. I don't know, when was the last one? I don't even remember how to find the blurb. No, it's not there. Inbox. Go to my inbox, newsletter, right? This is about what we get, and it's not even clickable. Okay, I can't click on this, so I can't copy and paste it, right? I'm actually gonna run real quick, install and test it on my phone to see if you can even click it on my phone. But we look even here, this game update too is from 2016. I just noticed that is for some reason still there. But I look at the era of the Revenge of the Sith and nothing, right? Nothing is there. That's problematic. And when I talk about things, oh good, I'm here. Let's see. Yep, I cannot click it on my phone either. When we talk about this game as a business, I have no problem with CG making money. I'm very happy for them to make money. I am a business owner myself. I understand the art of making money. I understand wanting to produce revenue. I don't fully understand wanting to produce revenue at the level that EA or Disney demands because of licensing agreements. But I do understand the psychology behind parting a consumer with their cash, and wanting them in the mobile gaming industry, not necessarily happy, but wanting them just frustrated enough where they're willing to part with money and are happy to do so, but not too frustrated where they have money and just say, you know what, I don't want to give this up right now. And I think that updates like this do that. We talk about the old community update, the update that came out. I'm going to throw this up here. I spent a lot of time talking about the community update, and how it was a very, very positive change for the game. But most players couldn't see that because the change itself felt bad, right? People constantly complained, hey, the Galactic Challenges, I can't do them anymore. They didn't care that their rewards, they were still getting just as much rewards, if not more rewards than before. What they cared about is that they used to have this much to do, and now it felt like this much to do. And when it felt like this much to do, they felt like they were getting this much rewards, right? Even though it was much bigger. And that, again, is what we're seeing with the Era Battles update. The Era Battles update is essentially, hey, you're getting something completely for free in Tier 1. And you're potentially getting something for a very low cost, free if with crystals, at Tier 2. And you're getting a rebate on the thing that you purchased at Tier 3 and above. So a rebate meaning you're not going to see a return on investment, but you are going to get a little bit of those resources back at the higher tiers. But when players go to access those events, they're struggling so much that they go, yo, I thought we had an agreement, CG. And that's a problem. So yesterday, I talked about in a post, and I know we're going long here. Where is it here? Era battles are another feels bad change on a good update, right? A week ago, I predicted this. Era battles may end up being another feels bad change on a good update. Yesterday, we updated that post to talk about how that's definitely what's going on here. Okay, and essentially the problem is that the higher level players who have spent a lot of money now feel jilted. And the players who have not spent a lot of money, they might spend a lot of money on other things, but not necessarily for this event, are finding that they have to add so much more to their investment than they expected to originally. And even when they do, they're throwing shit at the wall and having a lot of trouble, and it's causing psychology problems. Now, I do have a fix for this, right? There are a couple things that they can do. And my biggest thing here is restructuring the event so that instead of one era battle, it's actually 4 era battles. So we can call it Nightfall 1, Nightfall 2, Nightfall 3, Nightfall 4. And we'll just use the tier 9 or the tier 6 relic 9 tier as our example here for rewards. But essentially saying, hey, you know what, during this first week, so first week of Nightfall, the difficulty is set to around what Oppo alone should be able to do. And those players are going to get 1 Droid Brain, 1 Keypad, and 1 Omicron. It has been confirmed that you get all 3 of those rewards in Tier 6. Now, during Week 2, during Nightfall 2, players will get 2 Droid Brains, 2 Keypads, 2 Omicrons, but the difficulty is increased, so you're most likely going to need both clones, right? The requirement to get in there, 1 DS clone, is still the same, but the difficulty is going to change up a little bit. And then we move on, we get all the way to the end. By the final week, you're going to get the full award, but the difficulty increase is to expect a full team. Now, there are going to be some balance issues there. There's going to be some problems there, but I see that even though there's more work involved, as the most effective and efficient way to solve this problem, so that players feel like they're getting what they need. They feel like they're getting what they have bought into, without it obviously being this insane amount that CG did not expect. And I understand that there are some problems with my solution, because there is a lot more work that goes into fine-tuning this thing for that type of event. I get that 100% fully. The other option is for them to do something very similar, keeping the difficulty, not too crazy, and Nightfall 1, Nightfall 2, Nightfall 3, Nightfall 4 requiring 1 clone, 2 clone, 3 clone, 4 clones. But if they choose to do it that way, which would be the easier way, they need to make this incredibly and fully and 100% clear to the community that that is what's happening. People need to know that before they buy into their investment. It's kind of like when you get a box of cookies, right, at the supermarket, and that box of cookies is this big, and there's like shrink wraps on the two ends. You can see the cookies, and there's an opaque area in the middle that you can't see through. And you go to open this box of cookies, and that entire area that had the cardboard over it, it's empty. And all you actually got was those two ends, but there's this huge area in the middle, and you kind of said, hey, there's 4 cookies here, there's 4 cookies here, there's surface area for 8 more cookies here, this is awesome, I'm getting 16 cookies. You open up the package, and it's empty air, right? That's something I've seen at the supermarket with different things. You've probably seen it as well, and we get frustrated with things like shrinkflation and inflation. But that's how players feel right now, right? That is the community sentiment to era battles, and we have to remember that this is going to be a big thing going forward. We're going to see era battles with the Jedi, and we're going to see them going forward with each new era. And if CG wants players to invest in them the way that they really do want players to invest in them, it's not that they have to be nicer, because again, I think this is a really, really, really positive change and an awesome change, and I am benefiting from this change. But I do think they need to understand that players as a whole are playing a video game, and they may be very smart players, but they're not putting all of their brain power into the mobile game that they play while they're pooping, or while they're at their desk waiting for something to upload, or while they're watching a TV show that their spouse wants to watch, and they're kind of forced to sit there and watch it with them. Players don't want to use all of their brain power. I do, and it hurts sometimes, but most players don't want to use all of that brain power. Just remember, I think it was in like the 80s or the 90s, I don't remember which, who has the quarter pounder with cheese. The quarter pounder with cheese is McDonald's, and it's 1/4 of a pound, and A&W root beer, A&W locations that serve food, they introduced a 1/3 pounder burger to compete with it, and it completely failed because us stupid Americans, we thought 1/3 was smaller than 1/4, and that we weren't getting as good a deal, right? And I think that CG needs to remember that it maybe isn't a fully American thing, maybe it's just a people thing. So with that said, let me know what you think. If you have ideas, if you're having trouble with the event, I'm told that the Zeta isn't required, but it is very, very, very difficult without the Zeta, and there's tons of time and brute forcing involved. I think I've seen it done once or twice without. But if you're having trouble, leave it in the comments. We'll try to help you out, and hopefully going into Thursday, or at least going into the next Nightfall in 2 weeks, we will see some changes. So with That said, peace out. Have a great day.